Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Dave Russell. Well, our next monthly check-in at Farm Credit Mid-America will be tomorrow. That's Thursday, April 17th. Joel checks in with this week's Buckeye Temp Tracker. Joel?
Time for our weekly Buckeye Temp Tracker, where we're looking at the soil temperatures across the state. And this report brought to you by B&A Genetics. Real service, real results. Let's go through the latest numbers, starting in Perry County, where we saw our corn stalk field we're keeping track of at 51 degrees. The bean stubble field, 53 degrees. Mercer County, the corn stalk field there, 56 degree soil temperature, bean stubble 57. Fayette County, corn stalk field at 50 degrees Fahrenheit, bean stubble at 52 degrees. And Morrow County seeing corn stalks and bean stubble soil temperatures 50 degrees. Things definitely warmer than last week, but really right in line with the first week of the Buckeye Temp Tracker, back on readings from April 1st. As we look at the trends, last week was about across the board 20 degrees lower than our first readings and this week's readings. So heading in the right direction for planting. That's your Buckeye Temp Tracker, thanks to B&A Genetics. I'm Joel Norwood reporting.
Thanks, Joel. Well, Senators Chuck Grassley of Iowa, a member of the Senate Ag Committee, joined Mike Rounds of South Dakota in reintroducing the new Markets for State-Inspected Meat and Poultry Act. The bipartisan legislation would allow meat and poultry products inspected by state meat and poultry inspection programs to be sold across state lines. Currently, meat and poultry products inspected by those state programs are limited to markets within the same state, even though inspection at a state facility meets or exceeds federal inspection standards. More than half the states, 29 in total, have their own inspection programs. Rod Bain takes a look at the adjustments within the USDA's April estimates for both world and domestic wheat supply and demand.
Minimal change in USDA's April global wheat production forecast. But as World Agricultural Outlook Board Chair Mark Jekanowski points out, activity is noted in the world wheat supply and demand ledger.
In particular, we reduced China's wheat imports by 3 million tons this month, which brings them down to only 3.5 million tons of wheat exports. That's about a 10 million ton reduction from last year. Similarly, we reduced our wheat export forecasts for Russia and for the U.S., Australia, and EU as well.
Likewise, the U.S. wheat balance sheet also reflected change. More imports, less exports. Lower wheat seed use based on the March 31st prospective plantings report, and increased ending stocks month over month. The season-ending average price forecast, however, is unchanged for wheat from the previous month, still at $5.50 per bushel. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
USDA says inspections of corn and wheat were higher, while soybean assessments declined during the week ending April 10th. Corn inspections rose week to week, increasing to 1.83 million metric tons. That's up from 1.61 million tons a week earlier. Soybean inspections, meanwhile, dropped to 546,300 metric tons. That's down from 814,300 tons the previous week. Wheat inspections since the start of the marketing year are now at 18.3 million metric tons, up from 16 million at this point a year ago. And a new report from CoBank says rapidly worsening expectations about everything from inflation to personal income to business conditions and labor supplies are elevating economic concerns. The question of whether the declining expectations will translate into slower spending and tightening profit margins will likely come into view by late June. The markets are next.
Ohio's beef farms run on the protein-packed punch of soybeans. Across the United States, beef operations consume the equivalent of 55 million bushels of soybean meal annually. Soy meal delivers the energy and essential nutrients that help produce top-quality beef for your table. From soybean fields to plates everywhere, soybeans power the farms that feed families. This message brought to you by the Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Think biodiesel is just another fuel? Think again. Biodiesel is Ohio innovation on the move. Clean, green, and built to keep diesel engines running strong. It's an engine booster, a soybean supporter, and an environmental champion all in one. Every gallon reduces emissions, strengthens Ohio farms, and powers your ride. Drive with purpose. Choose biodiesel. Learn how at soyohio.org.
The market's brought to you by Seed Consultants, simply better performance, online at seedconsultants.com. At the Board of Trade, May corn 484 1/4 up 3, December corn 466 3/4 up 2 1/2, May beans 1038 3/4 up 2 3/4, November beans 1034 1/4 up 4 1/2, July wheat up a nickel at 561. At the Mercantile Exchange, April cattle 207.07 up $2.27. May hogs 90.15 up $1.95. May feeder cattle 284.40 up $1.87. This is the Ohio AgNet.